Vitality lost to Mongols and Aurora beat Falcons, but for some reason, everyone just wants to talk about Mezii. UK Counter-Strike back on top, and everyone's mad about it because they're blaming rating 3.0. And honestly, I can see the point, because Mezii has the 5th most kills and 6th most ADR in a game they lose 13-8, and he anchors B, by the way, but he is the highest rated player because of rating 3.0. But before we go any further, the sponsor of today's video. Skin Club is a top adult, that means 18 plus, case opening site with a huge variety of cases that can be unboxed to collect and upgrade skins. Skin Club's provably fair system guarantees a fair chance to all players that you can easily track, whether you're unboxing alone in your room or against users or bots on LAN, or anywhere in between. Skin Club lets you open individual cases solo, or you can try to unbox your favorite skin or a skin from your favorite creator. Hey, Vitality is on here, and so is Kerrigan. If you've had enough of that, come back another time and activate your daily case, which Skin Club has for free with up to 13 different levels based on your experience. If you'd rather try something different, you can find your perfect match in battle on Battle Tinder, or you can weigh the risks to upgrade your undesired garbage skins for something actually useful. Just put in the skin, look for an upgrade, and let it spin. Skin Club offers themed events monthly, bringing new cases, giveaways, and prizes you can get by playing on the platform. You can deposit with crypto, card, or the skins sitting in limbo that you never touch. Make sure to check out the link in the description for a 7% deposit bonus. So back on topic, not only does he have a 1.5 rating 3.0, but he has an insane round swing too, which is basically just their stat to say, did you throw or did you make some amazing plays? I think clutches are some of the most important ones, just not throwing rounds the way some players are known to do, not naming names. Actually, Elige really isn't the biggest culprit for this, but it just came to mind because I was thinking of him getting cut recently. But there are players that have a tendency, NAF is one of the bigger culprits recently, at least, to throw rounds, and that's really going to screw up your round swing. So if you're a consistent player but you have impact, I think you're going to have some pretty good ratings. Still, it does raise the question, should you be capable of having the highest rating in a game like this? Like, this does seem a little bit insane. Zywoo's got more kills than him. He might even be the 7th highest ADR. He's only got like 70 ADR, and they get destroyed, but somehow he ends up actually best rating. It's like a 1.5 rating. He goes 15 and 17. But looking at the scoreline, he doesn't get any kills for quite a while, but I don't think it really punishes him very much to not get a kill when he has a pistol. He has a 5.7. He has a deagle now. Certainly, if you were analyzing the frames in front of you, he could have gotten a kill there, but I don't think he did anything necessarily super wrong. I wanted to skip over this one because he dies in this round kill, but this is a gun round, right? So he's got nothing that he possibly can do. So we're 4 rounds in, he really hasn't done anything wrong. I can see how his round swing is not too bad, and nice dodge of the flash. Probably could have got himself a kill there, but you can't blame him for not getting one. Let's get to the action, boys. The action primarily starts on the T side, but when he's actually getting things done on B, I mean, it's extremely important as a B anchor. It's funny because if you're a good B anchor, your opponents really just aren't going to go B very often, but if you're a bad B anchor, they're going to go B all the time, and you're going to get lots of kills, and Mezii is 1 in 5 at the moment. I think he's actually a pretty solid B anchor. There are some players that certainly do a much worse job, and this was a pretty solid B hold. The problem is his team doesn't get anything done. I mean, he delays for a few seconds, he gets into good position, he gets 2 kills, that's really all you can ask for him, but then 2 of his other teammates die, left in a 2v3, and this should just be a round loss for Vitality. And honestly, Mongols play a really great series. Like, this is the series I probably wanted to look at more than any other series, because I just think I really enjoy watching Mongols play. But 7-1 down now. And the problem with Vitality is they do start to get back into this game, but they just start down way too heavily. You can't go 7-1 down in MR12 and expect to have much chance of winning the game unless your opponents just kind of crumble completely. But you'll notice Mezii playing different angles consistently, not like letting his opponents get a read on where he wants to be playing from. This is a pretty solid spot if you don't get mollied out, but it's very hard to molly out both sides, so as long as you can get 1 kill, a lot of the time you can survive. He gets the 1, he survives, and I'm guessing this is like a pretty big round swing. I'm guessing round swing, like the highest pushes are when you win clutches mainly, but also like if you get a kill in a man disadvantage or an even number scenario, you're probably going to get a lot of round swing, and this is a big one because Blitz almost pulls off this 1v3, and Mezii, straight up moving, actually gets that kill. Everyone was watching Blitz there. The observer was on Blitz. I was watching it live. I like Mezii. I want Mezii to do well. You know what? I wanted Blitz to win that clutch because it would have been sick. but that's probably a big push in the round swing for that one, if we're being honest. And I think when it comes to round swing, you're probably going to see that it overrates clutchers, but the argument, I suppose, back at that is, do we underrate clutchers? Because if you think about it, really, an opening kill gives you a pretty good chance of winning the round. Like a 5v4 win rate for most teams is going to be somewhere from 70 to 80%, depending. Sometimes you go slightly higher than that. Sometimes you go slightly lower than that. But it's not, I mean, that's only like a 20 to 30% boost, right? It's not like a crazy amount. However, in a 1v2, you get one kill, that boosts you from like a 30% win rate to like a, well, like I guess like you can be a 20% win rate to like a 60% win rate. And then you get another one and that boosts you from 60% to 100%. So you can go a 2-kill swing, really pushes your win rate by like 80% in the round, you know? However, all that being said, I'm not sure where I land on that one. Do we underrate clutchers? Do the stats kind of overrate clutchers? I think it's a little bit maybe of both, but still, Mezii, 7 and 8 right now. I think you can, the thing is, when people talk about rating, they kind of get this idea like, okay, kills shouldn't be everything, and we understand that. Everyone seems to kind of get the idea that kills shouldn't mean everything when it comes to analyzing a player, that there's more to CS than just fragging. However, as soon as you have a stat that shows someone do a higher rating or a higher number with lower kills, everyone freaks out about it like it's completely broken. So there's a little bit of whiplash from that kind of understanding. I understand kind of how it can be a little bit confusing, but especially when you keep in mind that Mezii on CT side is playing the B anchor, which means if he does a good job, and on every B hit he did a good job, he held his own, even though they lost, I think maybe 2 out of the 3 rounds they went B, he definitely held his own. And then on the other side, I mean, if they lose A, what's he going to do? A couple of times he rotated in. I cut some rounds where he just rotated in, didn't see anything, and either died or just saved. You know, there's not much he can do. So are you expecting him to do well? No, as a B anchor, you're not really supposed to frag out. And more often than not, if your team is losing, you're supposed to be at a negative KD. You're just holding your sight, don't see anybody, and you're going to try a retake or 2 along the way, and it's probably not going to go very well. You know, that's kind of the end of it. Going into T side, he starts out T side, I believe 8 and 8, and now he's 9 and 9. So, I mean, it's kind of what you're expecting. And I think he's done a really solid job so far in this game. Has he blown anyone away? Not really, but that's another really solid round here. I mean, he's got a Galil, long range. He gets the trades, right? I think both of his kills were trades, but at the same time, you can get doubled up on, right? I think Donk is a great example of how a trade kill isn't nearly guaranteed, right? Donk will pick up too. And when you're looking at Mongols have a lot of that same type of aim, firepower type thing, whatever you want to call it. The ability to shoot the opponent in the head. I know it's very complicated to try and explain what that means, but the ability to quickly shoot an enemy in the head, Mongols are pretty damn good at it. In fact, you'll see people talking about it, especially earlier on, like in the first season this year, the first few months, that Mongols are, when they're on, probably the best in terms of firepower out there. I don't know if I necessarily think that's 100% the case, but it's certainly they're up there because all 5 players have such insane aim potential. It's just hard to deal with them. So in just getting the trades, I think just doing your job is kind of underrated at times. And Mezii does his job as well as anybody right now, honestly. And I think people are starting to kind of realize the importance of players that just do their jobs. Safe pair of hands is really becoming just like an overused statement at this point. Honestly, people say it so often, but you do have to think about that. Like you need some people that just aren't going to lose you the game. And I think Mezii is fairly consistently someone that's not going to lose you the game. He's not going to make these crazy plays that win you the game necessarily either, but your B anchor doesn't need to win you the game. He just needs to not fuck up. And the same goes for, you know, a player that's going in mostly first, not a ton of utility, not a ton of like help necessarily, right? Just get the kills you're supposed to get. And so far, he's not done anything spectacular, but he's certainly got the kills he's supposed to get, and he's not really thrown any rounds he shouldn't have. I guess the best argument would be, I think a couple of rounds ago, he was in a 3v1 and he died, but then Rops won the 1v1, so I think generally that was fine. The thing is, can you justify this gameplay having a 1.5 rating? That's like surely he. I mean, looking at the frags, he gets 3 more kills and 4 more deaths in this game, and there's really nothing he's done so far that justifies to me a 1.5 rating. He won a 1v1. He held B really effectively, but I don't know if that's really where his rating is coming from. He got a couple of trade kills. The thing is, like, I think rating 3.0 must just rely on round swing because he has, I believe, the highest round swing in the game as well, right? So it would make sense if it relied heavily on round swing. So there, he gets a kill. I believe they were 3v4, turns into a 3v3. Now in the 2v2, turns into a 2v1. That's obviously going to jack your round swing up because a 2v2, you're probably expecting it to be close to 50%, but a 2v1 should be close to like 75, 80%. So it's going to absolutely jack up your round swing if you get a 2v2. Even number kills or disadvantage kills should absolutely blow up your round swing, and that's probably going to make a big difference in rating 3.0. The problem is, how do they define that, especially because when you look at it, you can get a kill that turns it from a 2v3 into a 2v2, but it was actually a trade kill because your teammate died just beforehand. And if that's not, I'm sure this data is out there somewhere, but although HLTV sometimes is like not giving up all of the data and giving all of the explanations, but you know, if they don't factor that in, that can be its own problem. It can be just not understanding the what, like, and even I've talked to someone about this, about making a stat like what is a trade frag, because it's actually quite unclear what necessarily defines a trade frag. You can have pretty extended gunfights where at the end of it, 5, 6, 7 seconds later, someone gets a kill, and I would define it as a trade because the impact of the player dying before him eventually led to that kill. Like, it trapped them in a corner, then they get mollied and you're standing there, and it was like the player dying really did directly lead to that kill. However, it's so much later, like, you know, how do you actually define that? Is that it's not really going to be in an algorithm for a defined trade frag in that way. So it's hard to say exactly how they might do it. Round swing wise, again, Mezii just hasn't made any huge mistakes. I think the 2v2 that he turns into a 2v1, he got flashed in, but he did hit a pretty nice shot. I don't think his opponent was like perfectly blind. I think if he had missed a couple of bullets, he probably could have died. The 1v1 he won, he was 70 health against someone with 8 health. So the 1v1 he won against Blitz, that was like a 3v1 into a 1v1, not exactly the most impressive play of all time. And he hasn't done anything terrible, but what just happened that round is a perfect example of how this game has gone. He's in a good spot, he doesn't do anything wrong, he gets killed or he gets a kill. He is basically, and I don't mean this in a negative, you could replace him with a bot right now, and if it wouldn't look that much different. Not that he, again, I don't mean it in a negative, it's just that nothing he has done, it's like, I almost want to say it's like NPC gameplay. Nothing he has done is like crazy good. It's just okay. It's just like, he's not the reason they lost. He's not like a major factor of why they got their 8 rounds, but he did his job. But then you look at the stats, man, and yeah, I agree. Like, people are talking about this as like insane that he would have the highest rating. And I'm on the same page here. That's 7% plus 7% round swing. It is double what anyone else has. ZywOo has the closest. Mezii's at 6.96. ZywOo's at 3.73. That's the closest by far. Behind that is 2.64. This is not a 1.5 rating game from Mezii. That is wrong. To me, that's wrong. Rating stats have gone too far.